Good afternoon, Admiral Hari Kumar. Thank you for joining me on Frankly Speaking. It's a pleasure to see you. Admiral Hari Kumar, the topmost question in everybody's mind. एक सवाल जो सबको सता रहा है वो ये कि क्या ये जो नई स्कीम अग्निपथ स्कीम लॉन्च की गई है इसको पूरी तरह सोचा और समझा गया था? Has it been thought through? आपने इसे विजनरी कहा है. Is it really visionary? Because हम जो स्ट्रीट्स पर देख रहे हैं इसका बहुत ऑपोजिशन हो रहा है. आपका क्या जवाब?
ये मेरे ख्याल से ये सबसे बड़ा बदलाव लाने वाला स्कीम है जो आर्म फोर्सेस का एज प्रोफाइल को कम किया जाएगा. ये किस लिए किया गया? ये अपना हमारा जो कारगिल कमेटी रिपोर्ट है उसका एक पॉइंट था कि आर्म फोर्सेस का एज प्रोफाइल थोड़ा ज़्यादा है. तो तकरीबन वो करीब 32 साल का एवरेज एज था. तो उसको कम करने के लिए हमने एक्शंस वगैरह एग्जामिन किया. तो फाइनली वन ऑफ द सॉल्यूशंस जो आया है वो इज टू अडॉप्ट अ स्कीम लाइक द अग्निपथ. इफ यू अडॉप्ट द स्कीम, ये जो एज प्रोफाइल है वो करीब 25 या 24 तक आ जाएगा, एवरेज एज प्रोफाइल. तो फाइटिंग फोर्स के लिए क्या चाहिए? फाइटिंग फोर्स एकदम फिट होना चाहिए, एकदम यंग होना चाहिए और इसमें करेक्ट मिक्स होना चाहिए ऑफ जोश और जज्बा और एक्सपीरियंस एज वेल एज मैच्योरिटी. सो अभी ये स्कीम आने के बाद ये वी विल हैव मोर और लेस द राइट मिक्स, क्योंकि करीब 45% विल बी द अग्निवीर ओवरऑल 10-12 साल के बाद और 55% विल बी जो एक्सपीरियंस्ड और सीजन्ड सीनियर होंगे. सो ये सही परसेंटेज में रहेगा. तो हमें एट रेगुलर इंटरवल्स हमें यूथ मिलता जाएगा जो टेक्निकली साउंड है इन द सेंस दे आर यूज्ड टू मॉडर्न गैजेट्स. जैसे एक फॉर एग्जांपल जो स्मार्टफोन का जो यूज़ के लिए किसी को कोई क्लास देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो अपने वो खरीदता है और पूरा सीख लेता है. सो सेम वे वी फाइंड दैट जो मॉडर्न जो यूथ है वो न्यू सर्विस ज्वाइन करके वो ज़्यादा फास्टर अडेप्ट हो जाता है टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ. तो हमें एक टेक्नोलॉजी का और टैलेंट पूल भी बढ़ जाएगा. सो दिस स्कीम मेनी पीपल आर सेइंग कि ये जल्दीबाजी में हो गया एटसेट्रा, बट लेट मी टेल यू कि मैं इस स्कीम से करीब 2 साल से इन्वॉल्व हूँ. व्हेन द स्कीम वाज फर्स्ट थॉट ऑफ इन 2020 जून, नाउ टुडे इज ऑलमोस्ट एग्जैक्टली 20 years. मैं एक इंटरव्यू भी दिया था उस समय एक चैनल में अबाउट द स्कीम कि उस समय इसकी चर्चा हो रही थी. तो काफ़ी आगे पीछे इसका डिस्कशन हुआ था. जितने स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, सर्विस हेडक्वार्टर्स और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस, सब इन्वॉल्व थे इसमें और काफ़ी डिस्कशंस हुआ, काफ़ी इसका चर्चा हुई. इश्यूज जो रेस किए थे सर्विस हेडक्वार्टर्स ने, हमने फील्ड फॉर्मेशन तक फीडबैक मांगा. तो काफ़ी चर्चा होने के बाद हमने ये भी डिस्कस हुआ कि शुड इट बी 50-50 रिटेंशन या 60-40 होना चाहिए, 65-35 होना चाहिए या 70-30 होना. ये सब डिस्कस होने के बाद फाइनली वी हैव अराइव्ड एट द स्कीम. सो इट इज़ नॉट समथिंग विच इज़ जस्ट टेकन आउट ऑफ द ब्लू. So it's a very well thought of scheme. It is a scheme which is made in India and made for India.
Admiral Hari Kumar, while you say that it has been in discussions in the on the drawing board for 2 years, my question to you is how many of the veterans who are coming out today and raising questions about this scheme have been consulted? Are they not stakeholders? In fact, there was a soundbite that was doing the rounds, and I spoke with General V.K. Singh, who's now a minister in this government, and he says, that's a different department, I work in a different department, so no consultation is necessary with me. दैट्स वन वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट. एट द पॉलिटिकल लेवल आप कंसल्ट मत कीजिए क्योंकि वो रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट मिनिस्ट्री में है, लेकिन एक जनरल आपकी सरकार के अंदर बैठे हुए हैं, उनके साथ भी अगर कंसल्टेशन नहीं हुई है, व्हाट अबाउट द वेटरन्स, वर दे कंसल्टेड? ये कंसल्टेशन वाइडर क्यों नहीं हुई, ये बड़ा सवाल उठ के आ रहा है.
देखिए, ये consultation has happened. It may not have happened at the wider level as you are saying, and you are quoting certain people, etc. It may not have happened at that level, but many people have been consulted. Many of these think tanks were taken into discussion on various issues. उन्होंने काफी problems raise किया, कोई issues raise किया, ये सब हुआ है. But finally, it is the service headquarters who have the ownership of the scheme. So they are the ones who have to finally give the, execute the project. तो उन्होंने discuss करके, see, one thing I must tell you is also that, there is that famous military strategist called Liddell Hart. He used to say that the most difficult thing after putting a new idea into a military mind is to take out the old one. So it is so difficult to change mindsets, and therefore people will, after spending a lifetime in the military, you're used to a certain style of functioning, you're used to certain things, but change has to happen. And I don't know whether you heard of Norman Mailer, but he used to say that you have to either change and grow, or you'll have to pay an increasing price for remaining the same. And I don't think we as a nation are willing to pay an increasing price for remaining where we are. Status quo is not an option at all.
Well, I may not know some of the people you've quoted, but I know Shakespeare definitely did say, the old order changeth, yielding place to new. You said mindset आर्मी में चेंज करने के लिए या डिफेंस फोर्सेस में चेंज करने के लिए समय लगता है, और नया आइडिया आप दे दीजिए तो पुराना निकलता नहीं है दिमाग में. लेकिन आज जो सड़कों पे प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं वो तो पुराने डिफेंस फोर्सेस के लोग नहीं हैं, वो युवा हैं. दे आर द यूथ ऑफ दिस कंट्री हु आर आउट ऑन द स्ट्रीट्स. मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि ये जो गुस्सा और आक्रोश है, जो रेलवे की बोगीज जला रहे हैं लोग, ये किस वजह से है? ये इस वजह से है कि एक शायद एज लिमिट जो आपने 17.5 to 21 कहा था, और ओवरनाइट उसको बदलकर 23 कर दिया गया. पहले तो यही सबके मन में डाउट होता है कि डिड यू थिंक इट थ्रू? आपने पहले इसके बारे में सोचा? क्योंकि 24 घंटे में एक चीज तो बदल गई, 21 से 23. तो क्या जल्दबाजी में हुआ?
नहीं, ये एज लिमिट 17.5 to 21 has been thought through well, and that will remain the age limit of the scheme. Lekin one of the requests that has come from many of the people who are protesting is that which we are also aware of, कि 2 साल से रिक्रूटमेंट नहीं हुआ था, क्योंकि रिक्रूटमेंट की स्कीम की तैयारी में उसको रोका गया. तो इसलिए there are people or youth who have missed out on this opportunity to join the military. Therefore, for this year, they are being given a chance. The government has been very proactive, and quickly the MOD has given this approval to the armed forces to change this age limit to 23 and include them, give them a chance to be part of the.
पर पहले ये एज लिमिट जो एग्जाम्स देते थे, लोग ऑनलाइन अप्लाई करते थे, ये एज लिमिट 25 साल तक की थी. अब 23 से 25 साल वाले जो हैं, जो 2 साल से इंतजार कर रहे हैं, कुछ ऐसे हमारे पास लोगों के सवाल आए हैं ग्राउंड से, जो कह रहे हैं कि वो 2 साल से ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं इस उम्मीद में कि रिक्रूटमेंट का प्रोसेस चालू होगा तो वो अप्लाई करेंगे, उनके एग्जाम्स होंगे. जिनके एग्जाम्स हो चुके हैं, मेडिकल हो चुका है, अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर नहीं आया है, जो पैसे खर्च कर ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं इस उम्मीद पर कि वो एंटर करेंगे आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में, उन बच्चों का क्या होगा?
तो ये जिनका प्रोसेस कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है, तो उसका वी कांट से कि उसका प्रोसेस हो गया या रिक्रूटमेंट हो गया. तो देयरफॉर जो रिलैक्सेशन तो दिया गया तो वाज फॉर पीपल who missed out on the chances from who could have joined at up to 23, and we can't now keep on expanding this envelope. So they had the option of joining from 17 and a half onwards up to 25. Now you don't have to wait till 23 and then wait for another 2 years. So sometimes you have to draw a line somewhere.
You're saying that you're drawing the line at 23, और जो लोग तैयारी कर रहे थे फिजिकल और मेडिकल करने के बाद और रिटन एग्जाम की इंतजार कर रहे थे, अब उनकी बस निकल चुकी है या कहें कि ट्रेन जल चुकी है?
नहीं, उनका अभी प्रोसेस कहाँ हुआ? प्रोसेस तो कंप्लीट नहीं, ट्रेनिंग तो सभी करते रहते हैं for preparation for various schemes. Whether it is not just military, you also apply for civil service. So many things you do, you apply, you prepare. But ऐसा थोड़ी है कि everybody gets in.
ओके दूसरा सवाल जो आम तौर पे युवाओं से आ रहा है वो ये कि 4 साल के बाद हमारा क्या होगा? अब कई राज्यों के चीफ मिनिस्टर्स ने कहा है we will give them preference in jobs in the state, but these are assurances, and politically, democratically, you and I know that today there are governments in some states, they may not be there tomorrow. What are these assurances worth if they are not on paper, if they are not really making out good in terms of notification? Also questions coming out, what about CAPFs? They will give preference, but can the recruitment process be via this route into CAPFs after the 4-year period of these Agniveers is over?
There is a lot of effort being done by the Government of India. All departments who are stakeholders in this, whether it is Ministry of Education, Ministry of Home, Ministry of Shipping, Ministry of Skill Development, all the ministries have been involved in finding a way ahead for satisfying the youth who will complete the tenure and go out. So various schemes are being looked at. But let me tell you, what does an Agniveer gain, when he comes to the process? Firstly, he should not look at it as a job. It is not a job. We are not an employment generating organization. We are a service. And he has to come for Desh Seva. Okay? And once he comes there, the benefits are tremendous, both tangible and intangible. So what are the tangible benefits? He gets trained, he gets skilled, he gets a skill certification, he gets opportunity to get a certain number of credits for his graduation, and if he's joined at 10th, he gets a 12th class certificate. So then he gets a Seva Nidhi, which is about 11 lakhs, which is not a bad amount at all. When you look at what are and he's physically fit. Now you look at the intangibles. He develops his personality. He knows how to conduct himself. He's how to speak, how to manage things. So patriotism, the ability to contribute to the nation. So there are so many benefits that he gets, both tangible and intangible, which is what will happen to him. He's got an option of whether he wants to continue in service or he wants to leave and do some other job. Even today there are many of our personnel who join and realize that probably this job is not to their liking and they want to leave. But आज वो हो नहीं सकता क्योंकि वो एक बार ज्वाइन कर लिया तो वो 15 साल तक इसको सर्विस में रहने का है. So ये एक ऑप्शन है यूथ को to spend some time and do desh seva, and at the same time build up their character, build up their confidence, build up their skills, and build up the education, and generate a certain amount of money, and then go out in case he wants to go out, या continue in service अगर वो चाहते हैं कि ये लाइफ पसंद है मेरे को और मेरे को कंटिन्यू करना है तो फिर
क्या क्राइटेरिया होगा कंटिन्यू करने के लिए? क्योंकि आपने कहा है कि 25% लोग कंटिन्यू करेंगे, बाकी के 75% तो नहीं करेंगे। उसके क्राइटेरिया क्या होंगे कि 25% आप कैसे चुनेंगे और उसकी ट्रेनिंग कैसी होगी?
आप क्या सोचते हैं कि जहां भी हम सिलेक्शन करते हैं वो सिलेक्शन मेरिट पे होता है, सही है ना? तो ये सिलेक्शन भी मेरिट पे होगा। तो हम डिवाइस करेंगे एक सिस्टम जो है जो ट्रांसपेरेंट होगा, जिसमें उसके एक्टिविटीज, उसका परफॉर्मेंस इन एग्जाम्स, परफॉर्मेंस इन हिज वर्क, all that will be assessed from the day Agniveer joins. He'll be assessed till the time he completes his 4 years. Uske baad it will be and then
assessed on what criteria?
Assessed on his performance, he does courses. It's not that he doesn't do any training. See, there is a misnomer that these people are going to be ill-trained and they are not they'll not be battle-worthy and so on. But if you let me tell you that what is happening today. आज जो रिक्रूट आता है वो एक नेवी में वो 22 हफ्ते का ट्रेनिंग करता है, मतलब 20 हफ्ते बेसिक ट्रेनिंग एस्टैब्लिशमेंट करता है और 2 हफ्ते वो जहाज में जाके करता है। उसके बाद वो एक प्रोफेशनल ट्रेनिंग करता है, मतलब वो इलेक्ट्रिशियन होगा या मैकेनिशियन होगा या गनरी रेट होगा, एंटी सबमरीन वॉरफेयर रेट होगा, जो भी है उसका ट्रेनिंग करता है। वो करीब 4 महीने या 5 महीने का कोर्स है। तो ये दोनों कोर्स करके वो जहाज में जाएगा। फिर अगले 5-6 साल तक उसको कोई कोर्स नहीं है, मतलब ये जो उसके बाद ही वर्क्स ऑन हिज इक्विपमेंट, ही लर्न थिंग्स, दैट इज ऑन जॉब ट्रेनिंग एंड ही लर्न्स हाउ टू ऑपरेट एंड सो ऑन। अग्निवीर आएगा, ही डज द सेम थिंग, ओनली थिंग व्हाट यू आर डूइंग इज वी आर रिड्यूसिंग द ट्रेनिंग पीरियड marginally from 22 weeks we are going to make it 18 weeks. वो 16 weeks basic training करेगा, 2 हफ्ता वो जहाज में करेगा। Similarly he does a professional training. वो professional training होगा about 4 months, 4.5 months, उसको भी थोड़ा सा हम adjust कर लेंगे, क्योंकि ये जरूरी है कि training length of training does not decide how training effectiveness or the training output is. It depends upon the quality of training. So आजकल there are new techniques, simulators, emulators, various new measures by which you can improve the training. तो हम training process improve करेंगे और थोड़ा सा training period reduce करेंगे। तो उसके बाद he is available to you for deployment on ships or aircraft or wherever he is required. So there is no deficiency in training. He is not ill-trained. He is a well-trained guy who is going to be available to you.
Admiral Kumar, क्वेश्चन ये है, आर द डिटेल्स, इज द फाइन प्रिंट मिसिंग? ये इतने डाउट्स जो लोगों के मन में आ रहे हैं, ये क्या कम्युनिकेशन की कमी है या डिटेल्स की कमी है जिसकी वजह से ये डाउट्स हैं और युवा सड़कों पे आ रहे हैं?
मेरे ख्याल से कम्युनिकेशन का इश्यू है। इवन इन द बेस्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस कम्युनिकेशन में प्रॉब्लम है। मैं ये बोल सकता हूँ कि नेवी में एज ए चीफ जब मैं कोई मैसेज देता हूँ मेरे जवानों को, अफसरों को, और यहाँ एक ऑर्गेनाइज सिस्टम है बाय विच जो भी मैसेज है, रिटर्न मैसेज है, वो डिसमिनेट होता है नीचे तक। लेकिन जब मैं फील्ड में जाके इंटरेक्ट करता हूँ और उनसे पूछता हूँ कि आपने ये मैसेज सुना है, तो दे ड्रॉ ब्लैंक। सो इवन इन अ वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड मिलिट्री यूनिट, trickling down of information takes time and it may not happen fully. So therefore, in this situation like this, how do we ensure that the communication is good and correct, that there is no misinformation? I request channels like you to make sure that it reaches down to the correctly to the right man. That is your job.
Because I'm a woman interviewing the Navy chief, you said right man. What happens to women in the armed forces? Is there arrangement? Are there details? Because we haven't heard of details being put out for women in the armed forces as part of the Agniveers. Viranganas का क्या होगा?
देखिए, I have, as the Navy Chief, I have announced that we are going to have women entry in the Navy in the ranks. We have always had officers for the last almost 20 plus years. And we have made many mistakes. We have not really harnessed them properly. So now we've had a lot of rework and rethinking on it, and we are very clear in our minds. We are going to be a gender-neutral service. Okay, we don't look at a person whether he's a gent or a lady, and we're going to have all branches, everything open for everyone. So they'll be treated at par. If you do well, you continue. If you're not well, if you don't perform, then you know.
तो ये अग्निवीर स्कीम में लड़कियां, young women can also apply?
Absolutely, in the Navy. In the Army, it is right now a limited thing, and Air Force, I think they will take a little time to introduce. But Navy में इस स्कीम में
percentages क्या होंगे ये details नहीं है, ये नहीं है public domain में. सवाल बहुत हैं, जवाब कम है.
सवाल तो आए नहीं हमारे पास. सवाल आएंगे तो हम जवाब देंगे.
सवाल आपके सामने है.
तो it is open. I told you. Why are you talking percentage? Let them. It is open. I said they are welcome on ships, in all departments, all branches, whether it means electrical, seamen, everything. So
मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ आपसे कि ये रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसेस शुरू कब से होगा?
तुरंत होगा. Within we've just got the government sanction letter 2 days back. We are working on it. अभी advertisement start होंगे, and our aim is to complete the recruitment process, start the training in less than 6 months. Navy is aiming at starting the training by November.
तक. तो ये जो फाइन प्रिंट होगा इसमें कितनी पोजीशंस किन लोगों के लिए होंगी, ये सारी डिटेल्स ये डिटेल्स उसमें होंगे. सवाल ये भी उठता है, मेनी पीपल आर क्वेश्चनिंग, हैव यू पुट द कार्ट बिफोर द हॉर्स? यानी कि ये सीएपीएफ में प्राथमिकता मिलेगी, इसकी कोई नोटिफिकेशन नहीं है, अश्योरेंस है. की पुलिस में अश्योरेंस मिली है, कुछ स्टेट से, सब स्टेट से नहीं आई है, कुछ स्टेट से आई है, और वहां भी एक अनसर्टेनिटी लोगों के मन में है कि अगर कल को सरकार बदलेगी तो क्या होगा. आपको लगता है ये सारे डिसीजंस अग्निपथ स्कीम के साथ आने चाहिए थे तो शायद इतना आक्रोश नहीं होता?
देखिए, ये स्टेट्स की तो अलग अलग गवर्नमेंट्स हैं, अलग अलग बात है. उन्होंने बोला है कि वो फैसिलिटेट करेंगे और प्रेफरेंस देंगे. बट मेरा आंसर ये है कि एक जो अग्निवीर जो फौज में ज्वाइन किया और 4 साल का जो ट्रेनिंग किया, तो कैसे नहीं वो सक्सेसफुल होगा ये सीएपीएफ या कोई भी जॉब में. आजकल इंडस्ट्री रिक्वायर्स पीपल लाइक देम, द प्राइवेट सेक्टर रिक्वायर्स पीपल लाइक देम, द डीपीएसयूज पीपल लाइक देम, सीएपीएफ रिक्वायर पीपल लाइक देम. तो कैसे नहीं मिलेगा? ही इज अ वेल ट्रेन्ड गाय हु इज कॉन्फिडेंट, हु इज स्किल्ड, हु इज एजुकेटेड, एंड ही इज यंग. Today that is not happening because the people who are leaving after at the age of say 35, 36. But here he is leaving at the age of 22. तो कैसे नहीं मिलेगा उसको? He will be head and shoulders above the rest of the people.
17.5 वाला जो बच्चा होता है वो 12th स्टैंडर्ड भी पूरा खत्म नहीं करता, 18 पे होती है खत्म. तो 17.5 पे वो सिर्फ 10th स्टैंडर्ड पास करके आएगा. आप कह रहे हैं उसको आप 12th का एक सर्टिफिकेट दिलवाएंगे, उसके बाद 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग और आर्म फोर्सेस में रहने के बाद जब वो मार्केट में आएगा उसके पास कोई सर्टिफिकेट नहीं है. आप कह रहे हैं वो स्मार्ट हो जाएगा, वो मैनेज करेगा, कुछ ऑन जॉब ट्रेनिंग होगी, लेकिन उसके पास कोई पढ़ाई का सर्टिफिकेट नहीं होगा, जॉब मार्केट वाला
नहीं होगा उसके. हमने बोला कि जो 10th स्टैंडर्ड पास है उसको 12th स्टैंडर्ड तो जरूर मिलेगा, 12th स्टैंडर्ड पास. बट मोस्टली जो 17.5 to 21 है एज, तो जो ज्वाइन करेंगे वो 12th के बाद, क्योंकि नेवी में इट इज द मैक्सिमम देयर विल बी टू लेवल्स ऑफ अग्निवीर. एक 10th पास होगा फॉर लिमिटेड नंबर एंड एक 12th पास होगा. जो 12th पास होगा उसको क्रेडिट मिलेगा. अगर 20 क्रेडिट चाहिए आपको ग्रेजुएशन के लिए तो शायद यू मे गेट 12 क्रेडिट्स और 15 क्रेडिट्स इन अ मैटर ऑफ 4 years. सो जब आप बाहर जाएंगे आपको ग्रेजुएशन के लिए तो 5 क्रेडिट और लेना है बस. तो isn't it enabling, empowering and positive development of the individual?
हरि कुमार, ये क्रेडिट्स का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ये बाहर के देशों में है.
Stop you. this credit concept is there very much in our country today. This is as per the new education policy. This has been discussed with the Education Department, the Ministry of Skill Development. That is what is going to happen.
So you think it will work in this, and that is something that will prepare these people who come out after 4 years, enabling them to get a job?
Absolutely, they will get credits towards their education, and they will get skill certification separately. For whatever skills they have got, they do. Depending upon whether he's a mechanician, electrician, so on. I can speak for the Navy as of now that in the Navy, I can list out, more than 25 disciplines in which people can take part. He can be a deckhand, he can be a bosun, he can be an electrician, he can be a communication specialist, he can be a telephone operator, he can be a logistician. I mean, there's an endless list.
आप चीफ ऑफ इंटीग्रेटेड डिपार्टमेंट के भी हेड रह चुके हैं। उस जमाने में जब सीडीएस क्रिएट हुआ था एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट, आपने देखा होगा, तब भी स्टडी किया होगा इंटीग्रेशन इश्यूज बिटवीन डिफरेंट विंग्स ऑफ द आर्म्ड फोर्सेस। अब 15 से 16 साल के लोग जो सर्विस कर चुके होते हैं, उनको इंटीग्रेट करना, थिएटराइजेशन करना, जो ये सारी एक डिबेट चली थी उस दौर में, उसमें भी दिक्कतें थी। और आप कह रहे हैं कि ये 4 साल की ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद जब वो 25% लोग अब्जॉर्ब हो जाएंगे, वो इंटीग्रेट हो जाएंगे। क्योंकि कुछ एक्सपर्ट्स का कहना है कि रेजिमेंट में इंटीग्रेशन होता है, ये बच्चे रेजिमेंट में नहीं रहेंगे। हाउ इज दैट इंटीग्रेशन प्रोसेस गोइंग टू हैपन?
ये एक इशू है जो हैज बीन रेज्ड बाय मेनी वेटरन्स एंड मेनी पीपल हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट इट, कि by serving continuously in one regiment, then you have greater loyalty to it, and that develop the cohesion in the unit and fighting spirit and things like that. But I have a slightly different take on it. Unit में जो cohesion होता है, it depends. There are two types of cohesion. जो बोलते हैं, एक तो टास्क कोहेशन होता है, मतलब whatever task you are required to do, उसके लिए you all have to come together, work together, make sure that you succeed in your mission. दूसरा टाइप ऑफ कोहेशन होता है सोशल कोहेशन. सोशल कोहेशन comes with being together for a longer time, etc. But what is important for us? Are we looking at social cohesion, or are we looking at task cohesion? We are looking at task cohesion. In a unit, what is required is task cohesion. You have to achieve the mission, and for that you all have to come together, and that depends upon not just your longevity in the unit. What is that depends upon your training, your leadership, the type of threats that you face, and the difficulties you have put through. You have gone through an experience together. That is how the task cohesion comes in. And in the Navy, in our warships and submarines, people change every 2 years. You can't remain in a ship from the time you join till you retire. It's not possible, because you can't live for such a long time as part of the crew. So therefore you rotate. You spend 2 years, then you come ashore, then you go to another ship or submarine, then you come back. So now, do you mean to say that the ship or a submarine is not a cohesive unit? It doesn't have fighting spirit? Of course not. They have all this. So how do we have this? Because a ship which goes to sea faces a common enemy. Who's the common enemy? The sea itself. You have to survive at sea. You're worried about fire, you're worried about flooding, you're worried about surviving at sea. So that bonds them together. So that is how cohesion comes in.
Admiral Hari Kumar, this scheme works for the defense forces. Many people feel. Budget for defense is about 5.25 lakh crore. You're spending over 1.2 lakh crores as pensions. तो आपकी बिल ऑफ पेंशन जरूर घटेगा, ये आर्म्ड फोर्सेस का फायदा है। लेकिन कुछ लोगों का कहना है कि आप शुरू हुए थे, ये सरकार शुरू हुई थी 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन से, अब 9 रैंक 9 पेंशन पर आ गई है, क्योंकि ये जो 75% लोग निकलेंगे 4 साल की उसके बाद, सर्विस के बाद, उनका ना रैंक होगा ना पेंशन होगी। हाउ डू यू रिस्पॉन्ड टू दैट क्रिटिक?
देखिए, you have to, rise above, the issues of regions and states and politics, and look at the larger issue of national security. And I say that we must keep it well above politics, and we must say that, we must see what is good for the armed forces. And I would like to ask, do you want to, want your ships, submarines, aircraft, borders manned by the most fit, the fittest, the most capable guys, the youngest, the healthiest guy, manning this thing? Do you want, technologically capable guys, manning your units, your military? Do you want the most, technologically advanced military, which will have its own implications on the level of manpower that is used? Or do you want the military which will deliver the national security requirements with the optimal expenditure? So we have to see how we can modernize and be able to meet the national security challenges. And I don't, if you remember what the Honorable Raksha Mantri had stated during the press briefing 2 days back, he said that we don't look at the armed forces from the prism of financial expenditure. Whatever is required for the modernization of the armed forces and for supporting the armed forces, it's all provided.
मैं यही पूछना चाहती हूँ, आपने कहा fittest. Do we want the fittest to be part of the defense services? I want to add two other criteria. Fittest is fine. What about commitment levels? What about the fact, you said the younger generation is extremely savvy technically, can handle smartphones, can handle and understand technology better. But the younger generation today, pardon my saying so, I'm also a mother to young children, and I can tell you that the younger generation also has, the mind wavering pretty fast. It can happen to any of these people. Will they have the commitment? Will they have the patriotism to stick on to this? Because 4 साल बाद तो चले ही जाना है कहीं और. Will they be dependable? And security, can it be given to those who are on a contractual service with defense services for just 4 years? That's a major concern that has been raised by some veterans.
Let me first clarify that, this is not a contractual service. It's an enrolled service. It's a color service, 4 years. It's not contract at all, because you cannot employ people on contract basis in the armed forces. It's not contractual. So this, the use of this term itself is incorrect. So that's why it's a enrolled service for 4 years. Okay, just like today there are people who can enroll for 15 years, people who can enroll for 20 years, it's like that. So they are enrolled for 4 years. Now about commitment. Now commitment, the armed forces is a service. It's something you have to offer. We are a voluntary armed force. If you join only if you have the commitment to serve. Nobody is going to bring you from your home and force you to. They are not conscripts. We are not looking at conscripts at all. We are looking at people who are willing to come and do Desh Seva for 4 years happily, empower themselves, upskill themselves, educate themselves, and then take a call whether they want to continue serving in the military as a career or they want to pursue something else. So that is a great option that is available to them today, which is not there.
And a commanding officer, how does he make a choice? एक उसके पास force है. आपने कहा 55-45% ultimately 10-12 years from now. 10 to 12 years from now, a commanding officer, will he look at the battalion that he has, and he has to go for a strategic operation? How many of these have been trained, how many of them are fully committed, or if he's going into an operation 4 or 5 years from now, वो 4 साल वाले कितने पोर्शन में होंगे, उनको वो भेज पाएंगे कि नहीं फ्रंट पर? Questions of soldiers at the Galwan side or Pakistan border. How does the commanding officer then make the choice in terms of the battalion or the force that he wants to use, which is fully committed to go there and fight? What happens to these Agniveers? Will they be part of those operations?
I don't think there is any doubt, because it is the job of the commanding officer to make sure that his unit is combat worthy, and it is his job to train them, his job to drill them, his job to ensure there is unit cohesion, his job to ensure that they work as a potent fighting machine. That is what he's paid for. And not only him, he's got a full structure. He's got a structure of officers, he's got a structure of senior sailors, he's got entire upper hierarchy of experienced guys. That is their job. That is what they're paid for.
And how many people will be selected? Because in 2019-20, about 80,000 people. Now we are talking about 40 to 45,000 people. Are we scaling down the recruitment size?
We are going to scale up the recruitment size over a period of time.
You're scaling up the pool.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
You're scaling up the pool, but ultimately only 25% will...
Yeah, but that 25% will depend upon how many people are leaving the service at that point of time. If in a particular year you're going to have, say, 60,000 people leaving, then you will have to have recruited, 4 years back, 4 times that number. So that is what we are looking at.
So the numbers will keep changing.
Absolutely. We have only picked this at the initial 2-3 years. This is again can be reviewed depending upon the operational requirements and so on.
आपके हिसाब से ये बिहार, उत्तर प्रदेश, मध्य प्रदेश, हिमाचल, इन राज्यों में जो हम आक्रोश देख रहे हैं, ये किस वजह से है?
ये मेरे ख्याल से दे नॉट बीन मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन से है. उनको सही तरह से किसी ने ब्रीफ नहीं किया है या उन्होंने पढ़ा नहीं है कि क्या स्कीम है. क्योंकि इस स्कीम में ज़्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं. मतलब जहाँ पहले आप 100 लोग ले रहे थे, यू आर गोइंग टू टेक 400 पीपल. सो बिकॉज फाइनली यू हैव टू रिटेन 100. सो दिस इज अ स्कीम विच इज गोइंग टू विच इज providing greater and greater opportunity for the youth to come serve for shorter periods and then benefit from the training and go out into society and contribute to society thereafter. We see this helping in nation building substantially.
Why are so many veterans still not convinced? There's an article that has been written by General Menon, Lieutenant General Menon, and he raises questions of replacing manpower with machines, which is an emphasis that has been made, and also the question of skilling. Do you think these are justified worries that still exist?
We can never completely do it with manpower. We have seen this advent of AI and machine language and so many other new technologies that come in. Earlier, when the ATMs came in, there was a fear that there will be no jobs for the bankers. But it has been proved that over a period of time, they have just redesigned their jobs into something else. So today, technology coming in, we are looking at a technology-enabled soldier, sailor, and airman. A guy who can deliver 4 times more, better. So let me give you a small example. There are something called intercranial helmets. Now, if you wear that helmet, it keeps you more alert, and you can stay alert for longer duration. You can do a better job of when you're on watch or when you're, a sentry. So the effectiveness of a guy goes up. So therefore, you'll find that you may not require the same amount of manpower to do that same job when you're harnessing technology to some extent.
So do you think the unrest on the streets really is born out of the fact that there is overall frustration over unemployment and it's coming out on this, and it's a new idea, as you said, which can work wonders because it's worked in other countries as well. ये आक्रोश है क्यों?
As I said, it is because of the misunderstanding, and they're not aware of the scheme, what are the benefits it actually provides. अगर वो ठंडे दिमाग से वो सोचेंगे और इसका स्टडी करेंगे तो आई एम श्योर दे विल अंडरस्टैंड कि ये बेनिफिशियल स्कीम है.
कहीं ये तो नहीं लगता आपको कि अगर प्रेशर पड़ेगा, जैसे आपने 21 से 23 साल का एक अमेंडमेंट पहले ही कर दिया है, तो शायद लोग कुछ और चेंजेस मांग रहे हैं. 4 साल ही क्यों, 5 साल 6 साल क्यों नहीं? why can't they stay in the armed forces for a little longer than just 4 years? ये सब भी क्या negotiable है?
ये सब I want to tell you that ये सब तो discuss हो चुका है. मतलब they were legitimate concerns. Even I had these concerns 2 years back over the period of discussion. Should it be 3 years? We had looked at various models. Should it be 3 years and then 2 years and then continue, or should it be 4 years, or should it be 5 years, should it be 6 years? All this has been examined. Each has got its own merits, demerits and so on. कुछ lessons हमने सीखा भी है from the short service commission officers का जो entry है उसमें से भी हमने सीखा है कि if you keep the period longer, उसका employment options reduce होता है substantially. So suppose Agniveer works for say 7 years and then he goes out. So then he is truly neither here nor there. So therefore, that is why we have arrived at at an optimal solution of 4 years, where our training effort for the military is also you get the returns जो हमें चाहिए. Plus he has got this entire he is eligible to apply for all schemes. I mean all jobs, everything. He is not left out of anything at all.
Admiral, the fear that is coming out because the details are not there. Enrollment कब शुरू होगा, कितने numbers में होगा, क्या ये स्कीम के साथ नहीं आना चाहिए था? और 4 साल के बाद जो बच्चे निकलेंगे, जो अनाउंसमेंट्स आ रही हैं, क्या इस पर कोई डिटेल्ड नोटिफिकेशन नहीं होना चाहिए कि हाँ प्राथमिकता मिलेगी, ये रिटर्न है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से या CAPF से? क्या बहुत सारा आक्रोश इस बात से है कि ये स्कीम जल्दी में इंट्रोड्यूस की गई?
नहीं, जल्दी में तो नहीं है ये स्कीम. तो मैं आपको बोला भी था कि this has been discussed threadbare, हर डिपार्टमेंट से डिस्कस हुआ है, एंड वेरियस थिंग्स आर इन द वर्क्स, स्पेशली विद द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्किल डेवलपमेंट, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ शिपिंग, होम मिनिस्ट्री, इनके साथ तो, बट इट्स ऑल नॉट डायरेक्टली लिंक्ड विद द स्कीम, एंड दोस आर थिंग्स व्हिच विल हैपन आफ्टर 4 years. That वो लागू होगा आफ्टर 4 years. That means today we are in 2, वो 26 में इसकी जरूरत पड़ेगा.
एनरोलमेंट क्राइटेरिया, एनरोलमेंट डेट्स, फॉर्म्स कब होंगे, कुछ डेट्स
अभी तो it is just got announced, and we are going to announce all the details of the scheme and when the recruitment will start. All that is going to come out in fact we have been given 180 days to for the trainees to reach the training establishment. So we are all going to work on that. It's not a.
So when does the Navy plan to put out?
Said November.
No, November is the training beginning. When will you put out?
Away another maybe week, 10 days, not more than that.
तो 1 हफ्ते 10 दिन में आपका एनरोलमेंट के प्रोसीजर्स का
सब तैयार है हमारे पास, क्योंकि we have been doing recruitment online earlier also, unlike the army, the Air Force and the Navy have been doing online recruitment. So हमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. तो we will have everything out, working out some finer details etc. It will be out and thereafter.
एडमिरल हरि कुमार जी, मैं सिर्फ ये पूछना चाहती थी कि अग्निपथ, अग्निवीर, क्या अग्नि को बहुत लिटरली ले लिया है बच्चों ने?
नहीं, मैं ये बताता हूँ कि अग्निवीर ए स्टैंड्स फॉर एस्पिरेशनल. जो बच्चा है वो एस्पिरेशनल होना चाहिए, है ना. जी स्टैंड्स फॉर द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन, जेन नेक्स्ट, जो जेन नेक्स्ट यूथ है. एन फॉर नेशनलिज्म, नेशनलिस्टिक इथोस, पेट्रियोटिज्म. आई स्टैंड्स फॉर इमेजिनेटिव, इंडस्ट्रियस. वी स्टैंड्स फॉर वैलर, for vigor of youth, versatility. E stands for empowered, educated, and the second E stands for enhanced employment opportunities for the youth. R, risk-taking ability. The younger he is, the more risk he takes. And S stands for a skilled guy, spirited guy, someone who serves for short duration and skilling for society. So I think Agniveer covers all these aspects.
Well said, Admiral Hari Kumar ji. उम्मीद करते हैं कि यूथ ऑफ इंडिया विल बी कन्विंस्ड sooner than later and will stop getting agitated about this. But since I have your attention, I just wanted to ask you two other questions related to the Navy. One is the threat of China. The threat of China in and around the Indian subcontinent, the necklace of pearls as it is called, as they are placing. How do you see that going forward?
They do have a string of pearls strategy. We are observing it. It's our job to keep track of what is happening in the Indian Ocean region. The government has also seized of it. We also have our capability development programs happening. They are building ships, submarines and aircraft at a very, very fast pace. We also have good allocation of the budget. We have about 41 ships on order as of now, and another about 42 ships and submarines is under process. So capability development is a constant activity. It is, and we keep watch on all the developments. Why are you talking only of China? Even Pakistan is arming itself very well. It's the Navy is expanding rapidly with the help from China. So we are keeping track.
And Sri Lanka both are worries for us. Any imminent danger that you perceive at this moment?
We always keep a very close watch on developments, and our job is to keep our powder dry. And the motto which I have set for the Navy is to be combat ready, credible, cohesive, and be a future-proof force. So we work on that all the time.
One last question that I want to ask you is you talked about or the Navy talked about in 2018 a 200 ship fleet by 2027. Already there is a cutback envisaged on that. Is that why the Agniveer scheme comes in handy, where pension bills go down and capital investment increases?
It is not linked to that. Actually, that was as per our LTA, long-term integrated perspective planning. It was as per that plan. But now we are having a joint planning process, which has just got started last year. In fact, I was the CISC when that started. It is underway now. So we wanted to rationalize and see that, that's the whole idea of jointness, to see how the resources can be optimized, the budget can be optimized, and how can you deliver much more with, what you have. And so therefore, there is something called the ICADS, Integrated Capability Development Process. That process has been kick-started. It has been underway for about a year now, more than a year now. And the aim of that is to finally arrive at a joint plan which will factor the requirements, which will factor the budget, and see where are the gaps, either in capability or in the budget, and then see how to make it good. So this is a process which is being steered by the CDS, and it is in progress.
When we have a CDS?
It takes time. It is not something which can get completed in a very short while. It has got some 5 stages. It is, I think, in the 3rd stage now, and thereafter it will come out with the ICDP, Integrated Capability Development Plan, for a 10-year period. Earlier, all the services worked on a 15-year period, but now we find that the technology is changing so rapidly that we have reduced it to a 10-year period, and thereafter from there you have a 5-year plan and a 2-year plan. So this is what is being worked upon by the 3 services and the IDS headquarters.
Hand on your heart, are you comfortable with the Agnipath scheme?
Absolutely.
Well, that's as clear as it gets. Thank you very much, Admiral Hari Kumar, for joining me on Frankly Speaking and for allaying fears of our youth, which are more important to be addressed at this point rather than the political brownie point scoring that's on. Thank you very much for joining me.